So one of the biggest success strategies is press the pause button. And in these moments, you refuel, you retank, you come back to center, you find back the passion, you feel amazing in your body, you feel well. So I think this should be happening on a daily basis. Yeah. So there needs to be some kind of daily practice to keep you in that, let's go, zone. So that's whether it's 10, 15 minutes, I don't need it to be 1 hour of meditation. It needs to be just something that grounds you. So, if you're in challenging situations, you've got your tools. You know how to come back and center, and then some longer periods as well where you hit that pause button. So I think that's for me has been one of my success. There's no way I could have built all of this without this secret.
Hey friends, it's Mary, and this is the Mary Jervich Show, a podcast that champions today's working women to gain the clarity, confidence, and courage to up-level your career while strengthening your faith and living your dream life, all in record time. We'll cover topics like career advancement, leadership, personal development, faith, and health and wellness, so you can intentionally create a career and life full of more abundance, joy, and love. Let's get started. Hey friends, welcome on into this episode of the Mary Jervich Show. I am so excited about today's guest. You guys are going to absolutely love her. This message that we're bringing to you today is just coming straight from the heart. I know it can seem a little bit like a big topic, right? Why women fail. It may even be something you're thinking, man, I just want to click away from this. This isn't what I want to be hearing. But I promise you, this message is going to bless you. Take a listen in. But before we bring up our amazing speaker today, I just want to take a moment to introduce her. So Mahima is the first Black self-mastery mentor to have spoken at the Harvard Club of Boston in July of 2018. In 2017, she got to share the stage with Sir Richard Branson at a business development event in Singapore. She has also had the privilege to share the stage with other thought leaders like Les Brown, the well-known shark Kevin Harrington, Lisa Nichols, and so many more. She's actually done over 10,000 hours of meditation practice, and to date, she has helped to transform the lives of thousands of people with her unique creations. She has the inner peace formula and the Own Your Superstar. So she's multi-award winning trainings, and she is just a breath of fresh air. So I think you're really going to enjoy her, and I'm so excited to bring her in. So she was born and brought up in Zimbabwe, but she has spent her whole adult life traveling around the world teaching her unique brand of mindful leadership. She has spoken at Google and has given workshops at UBS Bank, the Global Fund, and Mind Valley's Epic A-Fest, along with many other prestigious companies. And today you get the pleasure of hearing her heartfelt message so we can understand, why do women fail and how can we transform? Mahima, welcome on in.
Thank you so much, Mary. I am thrilled and excited to have this opportunity to share and be with your amazing audience today.
Well, the pleasure is all ours. So the listeners are in for a real treat today. I know we're going to be having a very, very deep conversation talking about why women fail. And that's not something a lot of people even want to touch, right? With a 20-foot pole. But here we are today. We're going to be diving deep into the trenches, talking about this topic. So before we get started and diving even deeper into that, why don't you just share a little bit of your story with the listeners?
So I am 52 years old. I'm from Zimbabwe. I've been a personal growth mentor all of my adult life. So that means from the age of 23, I started working on myself. And at the age of 27, I started teaching meditation classes. And then I've evolved my teachings to the Mahima mindset and the different programs that we offer on our campus. So it has been a beautiful journey with twists and turns and thrills and letdowns and excitements and all of the things that life is about. I have learned from many amazing teachers. I continue to learn. I believe in the power of having somebody who has mastered something help you to master that thing if you're interested in it. I believe in this totally with all my heart. I wouldn't be half the person, I wouldn't have had half of the success that I have if I hadn't had other people show me the way. People that mentored me, I've invested in some of those mentorship programs in a big way, and like energetically, financially. Some of the mentorship was more free, and I could follow along and just learn. So yes, my childhood was a good childhood, but also troubled childhood. My father left me when I was very young, 3 years old. My mom had to look after my sister and I. She couldn't afford to do that. So we had to stay with my grandmother and some other cousins because our parents couldn't afford to have a nanny while they went off to work to look after us. So that means I was separated from my mom and my dad, like the age of 5 and 10. So I think that leaves some scars inside of you, some traumas. My grandmother, she was a challenging woman. A lot of physical abuse was involved with disciplining us, which is quite a standard thing, I think, back in the 70s. I don't think we were particularly special for that, but that was just how kids were disciplined back then, right? They beat the crap out of you. Okay, sorry. Okay, so and yeah, so that's kind of a bit about my childhood. So I think this kind of experience of not necessarily having like a great childhood or having like an amazing experience there uh, definitely attracted me a lot to the personal growth world and being able to work on myself and heal and transform some of my childhood traumas so that they wouldn't hold me back from creating an amazing life. So from a young age, I learned how to be peaceful, powerful, grounded, happy, and that changed the trajectory of my entire life. And I believe because of that initial training in personal growth, that allowed me to really build a foundation where I could, build the life that I've created for myself today.
Wow, that is so like, I just love the way you process that story because this is your truth, this is your reality, and so many things you said in there. And one of the main things that you said was just investing into yourself, getting people on the outside. I think that's one thing where and I'm sure you're probably gonna touch on this, but where we've kind of been conditioned not to want to ask for help, or if we ask for help that we're weak, but in life, like there's so many different things. I know I'm in the process of trying to make my backyard into an oasis. We moved into our home just under a year ago, and I have a mud pit for a backyard. It is a mud pit, and it's terrible. And I love to be outside. Like if you know me, you will find me outdoors. I want to be outside, but right now I'm like, this is challenging. It doesn't look good. It attracts a lot of mosquitoes. And last year I spent a lot of time trying to get the grass to grow, trying to make it look pretty, just focusing on just some of the basics. I'm like, if I could just get the grass to grow, I think that would take care of some of the drainage issues. I think that would also, help. We're not going to have like standing water that could take care of some of the mosquito issues. It's going to look prettier, but I could not get my grass to grow. And granted, I live in South Texas, so it's really hot here. But, even with something like that, we can think like, well, we shouldn't ask for help, right? Shouldn't I just be able to take care of this? But something with that, we may ask for help because we may be like, well, we're not a landscaper, so maybe it's okay to ask for help. But we do the things that we think we need to do. But there's so many other things that I am learning through this process, right? I was putting down soil and, thinking about all of these things. How do I fertilize this? How do I do all this? Where here it could be it's not getting enough sunlight because I have a lot of trees, So, okay, maybe there's plenty of water, but maybe the nutrients aren't staying because of the runoff. Or maybe I didn't actually get the right type of soil for my soil because it could be deficient in another nutrient. And so there's just so many things to learn. And so I just love that you said that because I think there's some areas of life where we're like, well, of course I need to hire somebody. Of course I need someone to come in. But in areas whenever it comes to our personal development, we are oftentimes not thinking, hey, I need to have somebody come in. And I too have had those powerful experiences. But I also just have to just give you credit here because you just so vulnerably and authentically shared your story in such a way that you're not a victim. You are such a strong woman. And that just is apparently true that you are strong, but not in as strong as I have to put on this facade and be strong. You just understand that there's more to life. Like I can just tell you just have this deep sense of self in the way you shared your story. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you so much, Maria. And I love that analogy and such beautiful story told about your garden because that's such a great example of things are complex, right? And the question is, how much time do you want to spend figuring out that complex thing, as opposed to just having someone go, well, he's figured it out, let me get that support. So I love that. And the work that you're doing is extraordinary and so important that women, really find their fulfillment with work, because it's such a big part of our lives, right? And so it's often the mindset around work is, well, it's going to pay my bills. It's paying my bills. I have children, I have these things. And so I don't have the luxury to think about, am I getting paid doing what I love? Right. So I sometimes come against that objection, let's say, with some of the ladies that I've been trying to support on this process. And the question I always say is, well, do you have the luxury to let 50% of your life doing things that you don't love? Because life is so precious and we do not know how much time we have on this beautiful body and this amazing planet, right? So every minute counts. And I think that it's just the mindset that needs to shift. It's not as difficult as people think to pivot into making money doing what you love.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's dive in. Let's get deep in this. So why do women fail? That is the question we're going to be answering today.
Okay, there's so many reasons, but I would say that one of the main reasons is because a lack of self-love. Yeah. And self-love is about owning all of your parts and starting to be kind, gentle, and respectful to yourself, right? To be looking to yourself for that, you're beautiful, I love you, I love you're brilliant here. To be able to own as well your shadow and say, here's where I need to grow. Here is where I'm blocked. But without that being something negative, without that being, I'm not good enough, right? So it's owning your brilliance, but also being able to own where you're not brilliant, where there's still messiness, where there's still issues, where there's still feelings of limitation, or where and where you may need help, right? So that is one of so there's many reasons, but let's this one we can unpack, because I think when we talk about self-love, people think it's about, taking a nice bath, drinking a nice cup of tea, making sure that you take care of yourself. Those are aspects of it, but it's so much deeper than that. First of all, understanding the word self in love, right? So the word self is often identified with as the personality, right? So your name, your story, your job title, your qualifications, your relationships with your wife. So most people think of self in that way. That's one small aspect of yourself. The other part of self is the divine aspect of self. Now, whether you call that your soul, your spirit, your God self, your higher self, your true consciousness, it's the bigger part of yourself. It is the most expansive part of you. And so when I talk about self-love, I talk about connecting to that self, that is the soul, that is the presence, on a daily basis, giving space. Now, the smaller part of the self, which is the I, the me, the ego, the mind, okay, this is what causes a lot of problems and brings us stories that separate us from the soul self, right? And once you start to understand that, and you use powerful tools like meditation, contemplation, self-reflection to connect with your deeper self, you can start to see this other part. And let's call this other part, it's part of you, the wave in the ocean, and your soul self is the ocean, right? So it's one, there's no schizophrenia, it's all one in the same, okay? But the wave is so much less powerful than the entire ocean, right? And so understanding that the self is this deeper level of the question, who am I? your spiritual self. And when you fall in love, deeply, madly, passionately in love with being connected to yourself, your soul, and understanding this part, the ego mind, being loving, kind, and respectful to that aspect of yourself, and owning all of the parts so that you're not in fragmentation, you're not in confusion, you're not in constant fear, right? Because those feelings come from being disconnected from your soul self. So that is my understanding of self love. Now, if we take the word love and we hack that, love is the DNA of your soul. Love is who you are in the core. So it means you don't have to give love. You don't have to seek love. You don't have to feel, I want love, give me love, give me love, because the love is coming from inside of you. It is your nature. Love is who you are. So nobody can destroy your love. That is the ego love. But soul love can't be destroyed. Nobody can break your heart. That's ego love. There we feel the pain of somebody left me, and or I didn't succeed in this thing. But when you return back to your soul presence, then there, everything that's happening is perfect as it's happening. Even if you don't understand it with your mind, if somebody leaves you, you wish them the best. And you know that something more beautiful is coming towards you, right? So that is my interpretation of self love. It is understanding the self in the dimension of soul and ego mind, and understanding love as your true nature, as something you don't have to seek validation from anybody for. And if you learn how to love yourself, you can teach others how to love you. And then you'll notice that the quality of the love you're receiving is so much higher, because now you've set the bar high. You don't let people into your life that are going to love you less than you love yourself. And in our society, that's, oh, look, she's got a big head, she loves herself. No, no, that's wisdom, okay? To really be able to feel comfortable in your own skin and feel loving and respectful to yourself. So that's one reason, but I think I'd love to give you an opportunity to comment on that, Mary, because I could go on and on all day.
Yeah, well, it's so beautiful the way that you put that. You know, a lot of the listeners are faith-based, and everything you said completely aligns with what God tells us in the Bible and finding our identity in Him, and that we are who He says that we are. And we need to own His promises, the promises and how He speaks about us. That's how we need to see and speak about ourselves. And that's exactly what you were saying. Like, He loves us. He loves us unconditionally. He knows that we were born sinners, but He loves us so much. He's already given us everything. But a lot of times we live in lack, we live in fear, we have worries, we stress, and kind of like you said, like this person goes out of your life, and you can overthink that over and over and over again, instead of just trusting, like, hey, God knows what is best. Like he will bring the right people at the right time, for the right seasons, for the right reasons, for His plan and His purpose. And it comes down to this unconditional love. And as you said that, I was reflecting on my journey, because there was a point in my life where I didn't unconditionally love myself, and I didn't understand God's love for me. And so I didn't understand the soul love that you're talking about. And so I didn't have this love. And so that kind of put this filter on my life, and everything I was perceiving was not put through this film of love. It was all about the ego, like you said. It was about having to take actions. It was about striding for things, stressing for things. It was about worrying. It was all, I had to control everything. And if I wasn't perfect, then I was messing it up. And when I was messing it up, I needed to be better. But I couldn't be good enough all the time, that it would like lead to these periods where I kind of would just feel depressed, or like I just burnt out, because it's like I can't keep up with this. So what's the point of even trying to go on? But it was only when I understood God's love for me that I could understand what unconditional love was, and to see myself the way He sees me, because God's not a liar. He doesn't make junk. And He made us all so perfectly. And so really, I love what you said too, because you've alluded to the fact that we need to be who we are, and we need to set these boundaries. And that is so healthy. It's such a healthy thing for us to do, to protect ourselves at the core. Like, we were not put here to be walked all over. Like, that's not what needs to be happening in our lives. But going back to that unconditional love, you're right. Until we love ourselves unconditionally, we cannot love others in that same way. And it's a really hard road to go down, because your life is like a roller coaster, because
Mm-hmm.
you're not feeling stable. But I feel like, I'm talking about God, but you're talking about self-love. But I feel like when you have that, it's the same, because you feel that feeling is the same, because you're feeling like, I don't have to perform to have this. I already have it. There's nothing more that I need. God says this is who I am, so I am.
Yes, absolutely. Love that, love that, love that. And the second reason why women are, and by the way, thanks also for sharing your story and being vulnerable there. I am happy to learn a bit more about you in what you just said now. So, the second reason women fail is because of caring too much about what other people are thinking about them, right? There's a certain, I would call it obsession that we have as women that is like, so we calculate every move. What is this the right thing to say? Is this the right thing to do? I don't want to be seen. I don't want to be seen saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing. And when we're in this, we're not our authentic self, right? So we need to find our authentic expression of who we are. And we need to be okay with that, right? We we love comparing ourselves to other people. So this is another game that leads to our failure, because instead of being in our own game, playing our own game in life, we're like looking over there and saying, but look, she has this and she has that, and or he has this, and I still don't have this, and I still don't have that, and I wish I had that, and I wish I, so that game is it drains energy from you. It doesn't allow you to be your unique individual self and respect your journey. So let's say if somebody says, I want to become a coach. Okay. You can't compare yourself with people that have been coaches for 25 years, right? Obviously they're having a certain level of success that it's just not going to be able for you to have even within the first 1, 2, 3 years. You might need to work whatever 5, 6, 7, 8 years before you're going to be like, I've really done this thing and I'm great and I trust because you've got to build the muscle, right? So everything has its time and everything has its process. And I think that the more that you can accept your journey, accept that you're a unique person and you have your unique journey and you have to find your path and your way. And you don't want to look at what anyone else is doing and you don't want to care what anyone else is saying to you. Find people, you do need to listen to somebody. So I believe you need to listen to people who have what you want to have and have done what you want to do, right? So you want to make sure you're putting the right information inside of your heart so that you can achieve. That being said, you need to be inspired by those people and not like feeling like, oh my God, they're so successful and what about me? So I'm going to hang out with people that are less successful so I feel better about myself, right? You've got to be able to hang out with those successful people and let them lift you up because you're willing to learn and you want to be a great student. So I think this is so important for women to stop comparing yourself with other people, like at all in any way, form, or shape. Don't think about what they look like, what their business looks like. It doesn't matter. You have your path and you need to look at where you are and start getting clear about what is your trajectory, what you want for yourself. And you've got to love your uniqueness. Nobody else can do you. So there might be a million other coaches out there. It doesn't matter. There's only one you, right? So you've got, and nobody can do you. So that already makes you stand out. Okay. What's going to make you stand out is you, because you're original, one off, never going to be repeated again in the history of planet Earth, as far as we know, right? So
Yeah,
embrace your
that is so it.
uniqueness, yeah, and your authenticity. Be authentic and stop checking yourself at every corner to think what is going to make people like me. You have no clue what's going to make people like you, so you might as well just be yourself. Yes.
Yeah. Well, in a previous episode, we were actually talking about how when we do this, when we try to not be our authentic selves, right? We kind of fabricate who we are. It actually leads to burnout because
Mm-hmm.
it just creates a situation where we're always trying to perform, and it's something we just can't keep up, and then it becomes toxic because other people. And so I love what you said there about comparison, and what was coming up was a couple of different things, because it kind of goes back to the world would lead us to believe we should be great at all the things, but we're not going to be great at all the things, right? So that's why we got to have the self-love and realize that we were created with certain gifts, and we need to own those things, like you said, and not compare ourselves. But I think we also need to not compare ourselves to people that aren't successful. I totally agree. We need to align ourselves, find people that are successful, work with them. You know, that's one thing with like career coaching. I help women earn advancements. A lot of times career coaches have never led in the executive ranks. They've never been, you know, one of those upper people. And so it's like, if that's where you want to go, you want a coach that has been there, someone that's worked their way up and understands what that looks like. Not that other career coaches aren't effective. A lot of times it's just about, hey, how do we just switch to a different job? And it's like, okay, yes, that's something that they've been successful in, but if they've not been successful in moving up, then they may not understand that too. Or maybe they haven't been successful in switching into a different career field. So really figuring out what is it that you want to do and who really can help you with that, but also not comparing yourself to whether it's a person or a group of people that maybe are not successful. And also owning that is, I can't be successful because, look, this just doesn't work out for X group of people. Like,
Yeah.
you don't understand my situation. Like, I hear that all the time. Even within organizations, I hear people say, well, I'm just a number. It's like, are you ready to stop being a number? Like, let's
Yes.
get you out of this. But how, like, do you see that too? Like, how we really need to not put ourselves in these groups that say, this isn't possible for me because.
Yes. And that brings me to the third thing why women would fail out the mindset. We don't put enough time in working on ourselves. We put a lot of time on our kids, husbands, jobs, da, dee, da. But just, like say, hey, you need time to ground. You need time to reflect, to meditate, to be in your most powerful self. You need me time. You need to stop. You need to be able to stop. Say, thank you, everybody. See you later. Don't think about me. I'm out. Okay. And that time is for you. Whether that is carving out a regular period of 2 days, 2 hours a week where that happens, or whether that is 2 weeks of the year, or whether that is whatever period of time that is. If you are just pushing, doing, da, 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 like I can't see how that can lead to success. So one of the biggest success strategies is press the pause button. And in these moments, you refuel, you retank, you come back to center, you find back the passion, you feel amazing in your body, you feel well. So I think this should be happening on a daily basis. Yeah. So there needs to be some kind of daily practice to keep you in that, let's go, zone. So that's whether it's 10, 15 minutes, I don't need it to be 1 hour of meditation. It needs to be just something that grounds you. So, if you're in challenging situations, you've got your tools. You know how to come back and center, and then some longer periods as well where you hit that pause button. So I think that's for me has been one of my success. There's no way I could have built all of this without this secret.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you just give us like a few examples of things? Because I think sometimes, like when we think about taking our time and doing this reset, if we're not careful, we actually put ourselves in a situation where we do something like we're scrolling on social media, or we're playing a game, or we're doing something that feels like, even if it's talking to a friend, maybe that's good, maybe that's not good, but right, not that we don't need to talk to friends, but what does it really look like to have that restorative time? And I love how you said consistency is important. And I think that's something like across the board, it's the consistency that really makes the difference. If
Mm-hmm.
you just do something one day, it doesn't matter what it is. If you're a good leader one day, you're not going to be a great leader at the end of the year, or again to 2 years or 3 years or 4 years, right? If it's just one day, or if you try to just be a leader for one day. The same thing
Yes.
with if you're sick. If you only take care of yourself one day, you're not going to be well soon, right? And so, or if we want to lose weight, it's not just about exercising and eating right today, it's about doing that over time. So what are these things that we can do in these 15 minutes of time that can really make a shift in our lives so we can have that right mindset, so we don't fail?
Absolutely. Well, I have a gift for everybody here today, which is my 21-day meditation challenge, my 7 days reprogram. I can tell you a bit more about that, but things like that, right? So, guided experiences to develop your mind, emotions, and body, right? This is very important. So it's you're alone. You can sit quietly. You don't need your mobile. You don't need distraction. You can be with yourself. This is the real self-love, right? That escapism, like I can't really stand myself, so I need to be reading. I need to be Googling. I need to be like, you want to turn that off, right? The real connection can happen when you give yourself permission to close your eyes, slow your breathing, and calm down and really feel anchored in, I'm comfortable in my skin. I feel well in my body. I understand my emotional triggers and trips. I know who I am. I know what I want. I know where I'm going, right? Now, this doesn't just happen. You build this relationship that's that resilient with yourself over time, but you've got to start somewhere, right? You've got to start somewhere. And that's why, like the gift that I have today, could be a great start for people, or even somebody who feels like, I lost myself a little bit. I was doing well before. I did a lot of, I used to work a lot on myself, but I've let that go. This could be great for you too. So it's not just for beginners. It's for anybody that's like, I want to spend time on a daily basis with myself. And it doesn't need to be every day. I go for, hey, can you do 80%? Can you give 80%? Can you do Monday to Friday? Where instead to jump for the coffee, jump for the mobile, you jump for yourself, right? And you start your day on your terms, grounding, centering, loving on you. So that's one way it could look like. The second thing is when you do time outs, you switch off your mobile, you switch off your computer, and you immerse yourself in nature. You immerse yourself in a lake, or walking in the forest, or sitting quietly and just staring, into a tree. So just time for I call it being, right? So where there's no feeling of I need to be talking to a friend, or it's you. It's I want to be by myself. I want to feel my center. I want to feel this connection to my divine essence. I want to feel alive and loved. And I need time for that because it happens inside of the stillness, right? So that's my version of hit the pause button.
Yeah, and that I love both of those things. And we will put the links for the guides that she has into the show notes so everybody will be able to get those. So you can continue listening on. Don't worry, they'll be in the show notes. So when you get done, you can go ahead and click on that and get access to the meditations that she's talking about. But that is exactly it. It's these small pauses because we have to be able to listen. And I think that goes back to that self love and that self-care. Like all of these things, really, I can see how they stack on top of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're not careful, we can say, well, we don't need this, or we're not deserving of this, or we don't have enough time for this. But our bodies will tell us if we're not nurturing ourselves in the proper way. It's going to tell us. I love health. Like I'm obsessed with health, like obsessed with Jesus, health, and careers in my family.
Beautiful.
That's what I'm obsessed with. And so I'm always listening to different health things. And I was listening to one the other day. So incredible. The doctor was talking, and what he was saying is our adrenaline, like when we're in a stressful situation, so we could be like at our jobs, right? We're at our jobs. It's like this stressful situation. You are naturally going to have this adrenaline response to that. And so when you're in that job, you're like, you're fine. But then you get to your vacation.
Mm,
And
mm,
then you
mm.
become sick. You're on your day off or your vacation and you get sick. It's like that adrenaline went down. And oftentimes we're like, oh, our bodies just know, right? I always thought this happened to me. I always just thought like, oh, my body just knows like it can get sick now. And it's so funny because we were just having a conversation with a different guest on how, we don't want to take days off for being sick. Right. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I always thought like, oh, my body knows, but no, it's our body telling us like that is a signal saying when you get sick, whenever you finally take a break, it's your body saying like, you need more breaks. It's
Yes.
not but we don't always understand the signals that we're getting. But I
Mm.
think when we take this time, like you said, to take that pause and that time out, then we can hear, what direction should we be going in? What does God want for us? Like he has a space and a time to talk to us. Because if we're always talking and we're always reading and doing and we're not being, right? We were created as beings, then we're not really living our life to the fullest, and we're always kind of having these reactions. And I think that's the other thing. It's like, okay, whether you get sick after you finally take some time off of work, or even, I'll just use this one because everybody's pretty familiar, right? Who doesn't want to lose weight at some point in their life, or has some cellulite? They're like, hey, I want to get rid of this. Well, cellulite is actually a sign that your body is working well, because you're putting toxins into your body, and your body is storing those toxins away so you don't get a disease. But
Mm.
we're so critical, right? We're so like, oh, we'll curse our cellulite. It's like, we can release it, we can want it to go away, but we also have to understand, like, hey, that served its purpose. It did its work. It actually kept us healthy, where if we would have had that full toxic load at that point in our lives, maybe we wouldn't be here today. And
Mm.
so I think that
Beautiful.
there's a lot of systems kind of set up that are really taking care of us. And we got to really get attuned to these warning signs. And it feels like this process that you're talking about. I've used meditation a lot in life, and it transformed my life. And so I can, like, get the meditations. I'm all about meditation, but it's taking these steps to really be able to be the person that you want to be. And it all comes from that self-love and that self-care. And whenever we started this conversation today, I didn't know what you were going to say with why women fail. I had no clue, but it's just so beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mary. So let's talk more about this topic. Or do we still have time? Shall we go further?
Further.
Okay, cool. So, Mary, another reason why women fail is because of confusion. Okay? Living in confusion, taking real estate up in confusion, right? And confusion is like, if you imagine that you plant an apple tree and then it starts to take root and something starts to happen, and then you go, I'm not sure if I want an apple tree. I'm not sure if I want this apple tree. Oh no. Okay, so you pull it out. And then you say, no, I want avocados. And then you put those in the earth, right? And then oh, do I really want apples? And yeah, and this is, I think many women can relate to this, right? So I say clarity is prosperity. And so what we need to work on is getting super clear, and it starts again with the self love, because that will be the foundation to help you get the clarity, right? Without self love, you can't hear the guidance from your soul. Yeah. The guidance from, what you would say, Mary, as God, right? You won't be able to hear the guidance, which is, first of all, you need to find something that is your superpower, right? If you want to be successful, you need to be working with something that you absolutely love and that you're super passionate about. Now, it could be that you've studied stuff that you don't absolutely love and that you're maybe not that good at, but you've come down this path because you've spent all of this time studying and doing all of these things, but it doesn't light up your soul. It doesn't make you feel connected to your divine essence. It doesn't make you feel purposeful. When you have the self love in place, you will have the courage to say that to yourself, that although I've been walking on this path already for 30 years or 35 years or whatever it is not aligned with my joy. I do not really feel that what I'm doing is what I love to do, right? You can't get that message and you won't be able to receive that truth when you remain in confusion, right? And you don't say, it's important that I get clear about this. It might not, I'm not going to escape from hearing the truth about this. I'm going to be willing to be quiet and still and really ask my heart, am I on the right path? Have I chosen the right way to express my beauty into this world? Because that is what we do when we choose a profession. It's a way to express your joy, your beauty, and your love into the world, right? So you want to get out of confusion and get into clarity. It does take some courage, because it means that you have to trust that you can hear the voice and listen and be guided, right? You don't need to know what you want necessarily immediately. So that it doesn't need to be, this isn't the right path and I already know what the right one is. It's okay to say this isn't the right path, period, without knowing what the next thing is going to be. Just getting in that clarity will allow you to start opening your mind and your heart to explore What really would give me joy? And know that whatever it is, it's never too late to start along that path, right? I have clients. I had a lady, she's been working in the bank. She worked in the bank up till she was, I believe, 51. And she knew that she didn't want to be there anymore. But at that age, everybody was telling her, don't even think of going down a new path. That would be literally insane. But the truth is that environment, she was done there. She didn't feel lit up. It wasn't lighting up her soul. And of course, with our support and my meditation, my process, I could help her to, to have the courage to hear the voice that said, it's time for something new. And she has now started her coaching practice. She helps women, scale their coaching businesses and deal with money and sales and all of that stuff with them and have issues with, because she worked in the bank. She's taken her skills from there and she's pivoted and created a new life. Women are doing this all the time. So for anyone who's listening to this and you're not fulfilled and happy on the path that you're going on, know that it is okay to pivot. You just need to surround yourself with the right coaches, mentors, guides, tribe, that you can be in that pivot and it's a safe place for that to happen.
Brilliant, because that's it. When there's confusion, we're not going anywhere. And so I love that pause and that listening. And it's I always love though that it can be active, right? Because the pause, it can be a long time. You can feel like, hey, this doesn't feel right, but I'm also not getting the direction on where I need to go. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it comes quickly and sometimes it doesn't, but it's that trusting, it's having that faith that it is coming. And it's also, I think, sometimes just doing what's right in front of you right now, because you don't know when that next connection is coming. You don't know when that next opportunity is coming. So it's not just about, sitting in a forest by yourself for 6 months, right? Not to say you shouldn't sit in the forest by yourself for a period of time, but it's also, and if that's what you feel like you're really supposed to be doing, then do that. But it's also about still moving, still doing things. So if you feel like there's something, but it's not a striving, it's not this painful thing, there's a peace. And I think that's where it becomes different, because when you're at peace with it and you're not stressed, you're not worried, you're just knowing that, hey, the next thing for me, it's coming. I don't know what it is, or hey, this doesn't feel exactly right, but this is where I am. So, okay, I'm going to move through this, but I'm not like because I think sometimes it's not that it's bad to make a quick decision. I think making quick decisions is very smart. I think getting started with stuff is very smart. We always learn the most. I mean, my podcast is coming up on a year. I couldn't have known the things that I know today by not starting the podcast. I would have never known the things that I know today. And I know so much more. We had so many incredible guests on. I'm so grateful. But it starts with taking that first step. So sometimes it's the fear, but sometimes it's the uncertainty. And so I think it's just taking that time, like you said, to figure that out, to be able to kind of take that next step forward, but then also just be open to change. And I think that's one thing we see in the Bible, like a lot, is that people change. Like they are not the same people. They rarely are they doing the same things throughout their whole lifetime in the Bible. They're changing, they're evolving, they're filling different positions, they're coming into those positions, out of those positions, and it doesn't make you any more of a person or any less of a person, which I think really ties back to your first point on self-love, that it's not about your title, it's not about your career, it's not about your possessions, it's about that inner self-love that we have for ourselves and that self-care. And so
and connection to this beauty. It's for me, it's a beauty. It's light. It is a safe space. It is comfort, feeling comfortable. And I didn't know this existed inside of myself until I had someone show that to me, right? So that's what we all want. We all want to just be ourselves and feel comfortable in our own skin. It's definitely worth pursuing to learn that, right? To value that that's an important skill to develop, how to stay centered and grounded. And it's beyond thinking. It's beyond stories. It is an experience. It is an experience to be connected to yourself. And you want to get into that experience. You want to, be around people that can help you open up that experience inside of yourself. It's extremely powerful. So yes, I have a lot more reasons why women may fail. One of the things that I think is important is that we learn to not tear each other down, right? There is, like, I can just give you examples. I do events. I do events. Most of the audience are women, and I'll have women come in with with negative attitudes, right? And they'll say things and do things that they spread that energy. I'm not sure what's happening with them. I don't want to judge anyone, but I just want to make women aware. It's very challenging to put yourself out there in any way, form, or shape. Yeah. To it's I think it's easier to say, I'm going to not be visible. I'm going to stay quiet so that nobody judges me, nobody attacks me, nobody disagrees with me, right? But to put yourself out there, to stand up in any platform, whether that is offline, online, in the business room, wherever, and just dare to speak up and have your voice. So I want to ask women to really become aware of what energy you bring to the table when you're going anywhere, right? We need to start lifting each other up. I think if we feel uncomfortable somewhere, it's best for we gently remove ourselves with as much respect and kindness, right? But I don't think we need to announce that we don't like what's going on here and putting our energies out. I think we need to refrain from that and be more kind to each other. In that would also be how we talk about other women, right? You know, when we've been triggered, and we all know this from other women, we can get very into like tearing them down and talking about them in a way that I don't think is conducive to saying we want to be supportive of women. So I think, imagine if someone was talking like that about you, right? So if we can really say, okay, I really want to be a supporter of women, but that means I have to raise my integrity completely with how I'm showing up. It doesn't mean you have to agree with every woman that you see. It doesn't mean you have to love every woman that you see. Not at all. But also be aware of how your energy is coming across and potentially affecting the other women around you and what the way you express around. So I think if we could be more supportive in some way, form, or shape as women and find a way to really unite in our efforts in whatever we're doing and our projects, and really call each other out on how we're showing up and speaking about other women and so forth, I think this is going to empower us so much more than maybe is currently taking place.
Yeah, you are 100% right with that, because what happens is we can be critical, but it's like we already have to identify there's already people are already being critical of women. Like that's already a thing. That's already it's already harder for us in many ways, and I don't think we should necessarily worry about those things. That's not what we should do. We should just be our authentic selves, and we should do our best, and believe God's got us taken care of, because he does. He is our strength, he is our guide, he is our success. And at the same time, we should not be looking to go around and criticize other women. And if we are being critical, if we are being negative, it's like, why are we doing that? What purpose is that serving? How is that making the other person feel? How is that actually not just affecting that person, but the other women around us? And I think that's what we don't think about sometimes, is that the circle around us. So maybe you're not even saying something to the influencer or the speaker or the person, but you're sharing this with somebody else. If somebody else hears you being critical, and it's not that you can't have your opinion, but do you really need to share that opinion? Is that opinion really serving a purpose? Is it encouraging your friend? Is it encouraging the woman that you're talking to? Is it taking them in this positive direction? Because if it's not, just you being critical of somebody else can actually make this other person shrink unintentionally, because they're like, oh my gosh, I don't want that to happen to me. And I know, coaching many business owners, many women, that's part of the fear, is the putting themselves out there. And like you said, it could just be social media. So many people are like, I'm never doing a live, or I'm not. And people are, they'll be so critical, but they'll never, as Brene Brown says, they're never in the arena. Like they're never
Hmm.
in there. They're just kind of standing on the outside. So how do we lift those people up to really encourage them? I think that's a great challenge to everybody as we step away today, to really say, how can you, yes, do these practices to find more self-love? And I think it really does go full circle, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like, I know in my life I found out when I loved myself, I could then unconditionally love others. And that's even my
Hmm.
children and my husband. And that sounds weird to say. It's like, what, well, of course I love them, but I did maybe love them a little bit more if they were performing in a certain way or they were doing a certain thing. And
Hmm.
that's how I
Hmm.
was loving myself. That's how I was expecting myself to show up. So I don't sit here and criticize myself. I just realized I'm glad that I've evolved to this next place. But I think until you do that, it is harder not to be critical of those around you, because
Yes.
you're so critical of yourself. It's almost your defense mechanism.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Because we're judging and criticizing ourselves all the time. Of course, it's natural that we judge and criticize everything and everybody else all the time, right? But you turn that critic, that self critic off, and you turn on self appraisal, self recognition, self honoring. And I know that the students that come on our campus, it's so hard for them. Like we'll do this like activation, bring everybody into the heart center, feeling amazing, feeling beautiful. Say, okay, so what has been your insight from this? And then they'll go straight to, well, I realized how negative I am. And I'm like, okay, that's good. But what if we would look at something beautiful now? Like you've trained that thing, right? I saw your face. You were totally blissful. You were completely, you weren't even thinking about this. But that's the first thing we're going to say about ourselves, right? And then it's very difficult for them to say, I learned that I am pure love. I'm unconditional love. I learned that it is safe to be in my body, to be present. These are other things we're learning, but it's so difficult for us to express it, even if it's right there, because we're so used of looking at what we're not good at and where we still are trying to grow. So yes, the self-love is a massive one for women to turn off that negative obsession and get obsessed with being positive, but not in a I'm positive, but in a real, grounded, authentic way, because you're experiencing it, right? But you can't experience it if you don't honor the experience, right? If you feel these gorgeous things and you don't declare it, it's like it didn't happen. That's how the system processes it, right? So the more you can talk about the positive things that are going on in your life, the more positive things there'll be to talk about. Seems simple? It is simple, but it's the law of reciprocity, right? You get more of what you focus on. So you focus on gratitude and my life is amazing. I love this. Thank you for this. Thank you for that. Oh my God, I'm so blessed right now. Da da da. That gives energy and brings more to be grateful for and more to be thankful for. It's just amazing. But when I discovered this, I was like, I've discovered like a golden key or something, right? And I started manifesting left, right, and center, because that is what happens when you discover that your vibrational frequency, what you think, what you feel, and what you say matters. It has a direct impact on what is coming into your life. It's like discovering chocolate or
I
or
love it. I love it. Well, that's when you can be your true authentic self, and you can just be so okay in your skin that it just makes it easier. Wow, this is such a brilliant conversation today, Mahima. I am so grateful that you were here today. And why don't you go ahead and tell the listeners the URL where they can get your guides? Tell them once again what those are, and then I'd love for you to share what woman has been the biggest influence on your life.
Ooh, okay. So you can get this guide at the mahimamindset.com. It is and I always say mama with a hi in between. So Mahima. So that's kind of easy to remember. Mama, hi. So the middle will be the hi. Mama, hi. The mahimamindset.com. And as soon as you land there, it will say free membership somewhere on the top there. You just click in there and you'll get my international best-selling book, which has my three steps to inner peace. It's called A Rebel's Guide to Inner Peace. Or you might also get it in the second edition, which is called The Inner Peace Formula. So that is my book that you're going to get for free. You're also going to get 7 days reprogram your mind, because your belief systems matter. What you believe matters. And so we want to start planting new beliefs. We want to, first of all, become aware of the beliefs that don't serve us, let them go, and then adopt some new empowering belief systems. So that I have in my 7 days reprogram your mind. And all of these things, like it's 15 minutes a day for that. And then you have my 21-day meditation challenge, where I take a topic and I help you hack that topic and integrate it into your system. So we have topics like love, like peace, like clarity. And so every day has a different topic to hack and get into. And, it will just help you to connect to the soul, the spirit, God self, divine essence, whatever you want to call it. It is so empowering and beautiful. Whether you're beginning or already on your journey, you'll get great value from these free products. So that is what I want to give as to your audience as a gift today. And I have had many women that have inspired me. If I would have to choose one, and it's a close call with many of the others, but I would have to say Lisa Nichols. Lisa Nichols, do you know Lisa Nichols?
I don't.
Okay, so she is a transformational coach, a world-renowned trainer. And I met Lisa at a time where I really needed to meet her, because I was like 40 years old. I had already this wisdom from such a young age, but I was stuck. I was stuck, and I didn't really know how to get out of this stuck. And when I saw Lisa doing her thing at this one event that I went to, she just blew my mind. And in that moment, she transformed me. I saw her doing her thing, and everything she said spoke to me. And I went back home and completely changed my life. I was like, I know now my trajectory. I know what I want to get happening. And I just went about like completely dismantling everything that didn't serve me and making better decisions. So it was a very pivotal moment that she came into my life and helped me to get the courage to make changes that allowed me to become the amazing woman that I am today. So.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing her. And thank you so much for sharing all those incredible tips and the reasons why women fail. I think you've given us so many great takeaways that we can take today so we can ensure success in our lives. And ladies, I just want you to remember that you are already a success, and you are only one plan away from your next promotion. And God, He's not done with you. Until we meet again, just be well, my friends. Be sure to share this episode with another woman that you truly love, that you think needs to have more joy, love, and peace in her life. And I look forward to seeing you next week on the next episode of The Mary Jervich Show. Hey friend, thank you for listening today. Be sure to join us next week for another great episode. If you receive value from today's show, I'd appreciate it if you would leave us a 5-star review to help others learn about the show. And if you're ready to fast track your career and increase your income, impact, and joy, then head on over to maryjervich.com and check out the masterclass that teaches you how you can advance too. I'd love to hear from you. You can connect with me on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube. This and so much more can be found in the show notes. I look forward to seeing you soon.